Hello and welcome back. I'm Dr. Priscilla, the CEO and founder of Speak Excellent English. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so. Also, click on the bell so that you will know when we go live. We also have a Facebook group. It is Speak Excellent English. I'd like for you to join us there as well. This is the final chapter of Judy's dream, Chapter 3, The Speeches. During the official speeches, I sat some of the time and stood some of the time. Whenever a speaker paused, people clapped and shouted. Although many speakers spoke of the adversity Black people experience, the shouts weren't angry shouts. They were shouts of agreement and encouragement. Ever so often, there was more singing, first a choir, then the famous gospel singer, Mahalia Jackson. As her last notes faded away, I looked across the sea of heads and bobbing signs. The crowd overflowed the space in front of the Lincoln Memorial. There were lines on each side of the reflecting pool as far as I could see. It was after 3 now, and the shadows of the trees stretched across the grass. Judy glared when some people in the crowd started to move off before Martin Luther King Jr. had spoken. "His speech is next," she whispered. "They saved the best till last." I watched Dr. King walk slowly toward the microphone and make his opening remarks. Then, looking out at the crowd, he tossed his speech aside. From that moment on, his words came alive, and so did the crowd. When people began swaying to and fro and shouting, "Yes!" Judy grasped my hand, and I found myself joining in the gentle back and forth movement of the crowd. It seemed to have a calming effect. Dr. King's speech came from his heart. Then, as he named different states and named his dream for them, cheering and clapping erupted from all corners of the gathering. I can't remember the exact words of his speech, but I do remember that he dreamed that freedom and justice would become a reality for all Americans. By the time he finished speaking, people were crying. Even Mom was dabbing her eyes with her handkerchief. I felt like crying too. I felt sad that the freedoms Abraham Lincoln had hoped for had not yet happened. I hoped that the march would make a difference, that maybe we would one day realize Dr. King's dream. It seemed to take forever for the applause to die down, and only then did the vast crowd start to leave, slowly drifting away in groups, singing and excitedly discussing the day's events. The march and the speeches seemed to have given everyone an energy and a hope for a better future. I spied our meeting place, but there was no way we could reach it. Suddenly, a hand clamped down on my shoulder, and I jumped. "Dad!" I squealed. "Good thing you wore that red hat," he said with a grin. "It stands out like a beacon. I would have joined you earlier, but I couldn't get through the crowd." "But you came," I shouted. "You were here all the time." When I saw how peaceful the crowd was, I realized I had no reason to worry about the bakery, and the mood of the people drew me here. As we started to move, I took Dad's hand. Some people were still singing, and Judy and I sang too. "It's about time I paid your folks a visit," Dad said to Judy when we arrived at the parked van. "I need them to help me build a gate through that fence." When Judy caught my eye, we both grinned. Afterward, on August 28, 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led the March on Washington, D.C. Around 250,000 people marched in support of civil rights for all American people. In that era, Black people in the United States didn't have the same rights as white people. Black people weren't allowed to sit in the same places as white people on public transportation and in restaurants, hotels, and schools. This is called segregation. When the marchers arrived at the Lincoln Memorial, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave what was to become his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. A year later, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed. It prohibited segregation in public places and gave people equal opportunities in jobs and education. That concludes Chapter 3. I hope that you enjoyed reading with me or listening as I read Judy's Dream. I'm Dr. Priscilla, the CEO and founder of Speak Excellent English. Again, I want to remind you to please subscribe to our channel, join our membership in Speak Excellent English, and learn and practice with us on a daily basis. Thank you for listening.